Of course, the houses of the 6 conservative Supreme Court justices aren't the only place that have been targeted by pro-abortion protesters. And in recent days, they've also targeted churches, pregnancy resource centers, and pro-life groups. Can anything be done to protect others who find themselves in the crosshairs of pro-abortion activists? And joining me now to talk about this is Congressman Warren Davidson, who is a U.S. Army veteran and a member of the Republican Study Committee and the House Freedom Caucus. He represents Ohio's 8th Congressional District. Congressman Davidson, welcome back to the program.
Always an honor. Thanks for talking about this important subject.
Thanks for taking some time. You joined 39 other Republican members of Congress in introducing a congressional resolution condemning the intimidation tactics that we've seen in recent weeks since the leak. What are you most concerned about?
Well, I mean, I'm most concerned that the justices hold the line and end Roe v. Wade. I mean, hopefully it stays the majority opinion of the court, only gets at least stays as strong, if not stronger, than the leaked version. So, that's my most important thing out of this. But obviously the leak was wrong. Whoever did it was wrong. It's a huge violation of trust. It's unethical, hopefully also illegal, and something that shouldn't ever be repeated in the court. And because, what does it lead to? It leads to intimidation of justices, and it is a crime to try to intimidate justices in order to influence a decision. It seems very clear that's what they're trying to do, and it's disappointing that the Attorney General, Merrick Garland, isn't enforcing federal law here. He had no problem cracking down on parents who showed up at school board meetings and said things that were perfectly legal, protected speech, but he seems to have difficulty enforcing the law, but in a very selective way.
And let's talk about that for a moment, because what you raised there is the question of whether the Department of Justice is responding differently to these protests than they did to other forms of protest or opposition at school board meetings, and whether the federal government is responding differently based on the views of those who are expressing their opinions. Now, back in October, when he was being grilled over his infamous memo regarding the threats posed by concerned parents, Attorney General Garland said the memo is not partisan in any way. Here's what he said.
I'm going to say again, the memorandum that I issued is not partisan in any way. It has nothing to do with what I agree with or I don't agree with. I don't care whether the threats of violence come from the left or the right.
Congressman Davidson, do you think that's the case?
No one believes that. I mean, no one believes that. And when you say things like that, that's when you decide that you need to create something like a disinformation governance board to try to skew the truth. They're totally deceitful there, and in so many other ways. So look, the way that they responded to that, it took a total between the time that parents protested at the Loudoun County School Board to the letter to the Department of Education that led to Merrick Garland sending stuff out to the field offices, to the FBI sending stuff to their offices, in a matter of 3 weeks. And as my friend Jim Jordan likes to say, when have you ever seen the federal government move that fast?
That's a fair point. In addition, on this subject, there are reports from whistleblowers about the anti-terrorism tools from the Department of Justice being used against those parents. Have you seen evidence that whistleblower may have had that has convinced you that the federal government's anti-terrorism tools are being used against parents expressing their concern at school board meetings?
Well, that's certainly the whistleblower claim, and of course that would contradict Merrick Garland's statement that no Patriot Act authorities were being used. And that itself is a little deceitful, because a lot of times the executive branch doesn't actually lean on the Patriot Act. I actually had Attorney General Barr tell me that he thought the Patriot Act was a limitation on their authority. And that's because this Executive Order 12,333, is far more expansive than the Patriot Act, and it needs to be defunded and banned. To me, it's unconstitutional. And so it could be that he was truthful that they didn't rely on Patriot Act authorities to do this, but they did rely on Executive Order 12,333. So, look, this is a real problem. I do think he's selectively enforcing it. And that's where I really hope that the neighboring Republican governors, Governor Youngkin and Governor Hogan, use the authority that they have in their executive branch to protect these justices and to make sure that there's no inappropriate, undue influence that could try to change the outcome of this judicial opinion. We want it decided on the merits, but, we've stayed within the system broadly as a movement for, since Roe was wrongly decided. And we certainly hope to see a triumph of justice here and see an end to Roe v. Wade. And we hope states decide to do the right thing and recognize that life begins at conception.
And it already is federal law to protest outside the home of a judge or otherwise try to influence them. We haven't seen those laws used on their behalf yet, but maybe we are going to see that happen soon. Congressman Davidson, thank you for bringing this issue to our attention and for your time today as well. God bless you.
You as well. Thank you.